When we stumble over a stone while running, the nerves connected to our skin transmit the message of pain to the brain. The brain, in response, orders the muscles of our body to stand erect. This whole process is executed in less than a fraction of a second. That is even much lesser time than what you would take to read or listen to these two lines. Such is the speed of coordination between the brain and other parts of the body, which is facilitated by our nervous system and particularly the neurons or nerve cells, which are the structural and functional units of our nervous system.
Hello students, I welcome you to today's lesson which is about the neurons. Students, पूरे ह्यूमन बॉडी ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਸਾਡਾ ਨਰਵਸ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਧ ਕੰਪਲੈਕਸ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਹੈ। ਇਹ ਇੱਕ ਬਾਇਓਲੋਜੀਕਲ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਹਾਈਵੇ ਹੈ ਅਤੇ ਸਰੀਰ ਦੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਬਾਇਓਲੋਜੀਕਲ ਪ੍ਰੋਸੈਸਸ ਅਤੇ ਮੂਵਮੈਂਟਸ ਨੂੰ ਕੰਟਰੋਲ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਰਿਸਪੌਂਸਿਬਲ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ। ਇਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ it can also receive information and interpret it via electrical signals which are used in this nervous system. Because of the nervous system, there is a line of communication between the receptors, the ears, eyes, nose, skin, and the effectors, the muscles and glands. ਇਹ ਸਾਡਾ nervous system ਹੀ ਹੈ ਜੋ ਕਿ ਸਾਨੂੰ environmental changes ਬਾਰੇ ਇਨਫੋਰਮ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ। ਇਹ ਹੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇਨ੍ਹਾਂ changes ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰਤੀ ਰਿਸਪੌਂਸ ਕਰਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੈਲਪ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ। Suppose there is a blind curve and you are about to cross the road there. You suddenly see a car approaching. The sensory cells in your eyes perceive the image of the approaching car. The impulse is then carried along a sensory nerve to the brain. The brain interprets the impulse and resounds by sending impulses along motor nerves to the muscles in your legs and feet. This allows you to step back from the road to avoid collision. As the most complex system, the nervous system serves a control center of the body. Every moment of the day, our nervous system is active. It exchanges millions of signals corresponding with feelings, thoughts, and actions. A simple example of this is the nervous system which controls our behavior while meeting a friend. First, the visual information perceived by our eyes is sent to our brain by nervous cells. There, the information is interpreted and translated into a signal to take action. Finally, the brain sends a command to our voice or to another action system like muscles or glands. For example, one may start walking towards the friend. So, our nervous system enables us to rapidly recognize our friend and enables us to perform action. But how does it work? Basically, the nervous system is an organ system containing a network of specialized cells called neurons that coordinate the actions and transmit signals between different parts of the body. A neuron is hence known as the functional unit of the nervous system, and today we will focus on these neurons only. So first of all, let us focus on neural system.
Neural system. The neural system of all animals is composed of highly specialized cells called neurons, which can detect, receive, and transmit different kinds of stimuli. This neuron is the basic structural and functional unit of the nervous system and is commonly called a nerve cell. If we talk about human neural system, our nervous system is divided into two parts. First one is the central nervous system, that is CNS, and the second one is the peripheral nervous system, that is PNS. The CNS, that is central nervous system, is that part of the nervous system that consists of the brain and spinal cord. The central nervous system is effectively the center of nervous system and is primarily responsible for storing and processing information. So, it is the site of information processing and control. The peripheral nervous system, that is PNS, comprises of all the nerves of the body associated with the central nervous system, that is brain and spinal cord, which are known as cranial nerves and spinal nerves respectively. Cranial nerves connect the brain of the central nervous system to sensory organs such as the nose, eye, as you can see here in the visual. The peripheral nervous system consists of 12 pairs of cranial nerves and 31 pairs of spinal nerves. Peripheral nervous tissue gathers signals from all parts of the body and sends them to the central nervous system.
So we can say that our peripheral nervous system has sensory neurons that carry information about the body and the environment to the central nervous system, and motor neurons that redirect the impulse from the central nervous system to the effector organs like the muscles and glands. Students, सादा peripheral nervous system, that is PNS, दो divisions ਵਿੱਚ ਵੰਡਿਆ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ, ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਂ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਹਨ: somatic neural system and autonomic neural system. The somatic neural system consists of nerves that mainly relay impulses from central nervous system to voluntary muscles like muscles of your arms and your vocal cords. So these muscles execute the commands of the central nervous system, while the autonomic neural system transmits impulses from the central nervous system to the involuntary organs and smooth muscles of the body. So, autonomic nervous system serves the heart, lungs, bladder, tear glands and other involuntary muscles and glands that operate instinctively without intentional control. Autonomic neural system ਨੂੰ ਅੱਗੋਂ ਹੋਰ ਕਲਾਸੀਫਾਈ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈ: sympathetic neural system and parasympathetic neural system. So, ਹੁਣ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਸਾਡਾ ਨਰਵਸ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਮਨੁੱਖੀ ਸਰੀਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਕੰਪਲੈਕਸ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਹੈ। ਇੱਥੇ ਇਹ ਗੱਲ ਧਿਆਨ ਦੇਣ ਯੋਗ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਸਾਡਾ ਨਰਵਸ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਨਿਊਰੋਨਸ ਦਾ ਬਣਿਆ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ। ਇਹ ਨਿਊਰੋਨਸ ਨਰਵਸ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਦੇ ਬੇਸਿਕ ਯੂਨਿਟਸ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਨ ਅਤੇ ਆਮ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਨਰਵ ਸੈਲਸ ਕਿਹਾ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ। ਕੇਵਲ ਹਿਊਮਨ ਬ੍ਰੇਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ ਅਪਰੋਕਸੀਮੇਟਲੀ 10 ਬਿਲੀਅਨ ਨਿਊਰੋਨਸ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਨ। ਇਹ ਨਿਊਰੋਨਸ ਹੀ ਸਰੀਰ ਦੇ ਇੱਕ ਹਿੱਸੇ ਤੋਂ ਮੈਸੇजेस ਸਰੀਰ ਦੇ ਦੂਜੇ ਭਾਗਾਂ ਤੱਕ ਪਹੁੰਚਾਉਂਦੇ ਹਨ। These messages of sensation and information are called impulses. The neurons form the communication system that controls many functions of the body and also store information. There are different types of neurons, but they all have certain features that are similar. So let us now study these neurons.
Neuron. Neuron is a microscopic structure composed of three major parts, which are cell body, dendrites, and axon. Let us discuss these structures one by one. Cell body. The cell body of a neuron is called cyton, perikaryon, or soma. It varies considerably in size and form. It may be up to 13.5 micrometer in diameter and may be rounded, oval, or star-like. It has abundant cytoplasm called neuroplasm and relatively large spherical nucleus with a single distinct nucleolus. The nucleus contains genetic material, that is, chromosomes, and is covered by a membrane. Cell body also has mitochondria and other organelles like Golgi bodies and endoplasmic reticulum. Cell body also includes variously shaped, highly basophilic granules such as Nissel's granules. These granules are basically groups of ribosomes which are used for protein synthesis. So, we can say that the cell body contains the necessary structures for keeping the neuron functional and are mainly concerned with metabolism, maintenance, and growth. After studying the cell body, now we will focus on dendrites. Dendrites. Neurons have specialized extensions called dendrites. Dendrites typically carry signals toward the cell body, so they are sensory or efferent in nature. These dendrites consist of several short tapering, much branched processes as you can see here in the visual. This branching provides a considerable surface area for receiving impulses. Axon. Extending from the opposite side of the cell body is the long tubular extension called the axon. Surrounding the axon is a myelin sheath, which plays an important role in the rate of electrical transmission. This myelin sheath forms a whitish, non-cellular, fatty layer around the axon. Outside the myelin sheath is a cellular layer called the neurilemma or sheath of Schwann cells. The myelin sheath together with the neurilemma is also known as medullary sheath. This medullary sheath is interrupted at intervals by the nodes of Ranvier. At the terminal end of the axon is a branched structure with ends called synaptic knobs. From this structure, chemical signals can be passed on to the neighboring neurons. The axons have smooth surface and they branch further from the cell body. These axons take information away from the cell body, so they are motor or efferent in nature.
Students, neurons ਸਾਡੇ ਸ਼ਰੀਰ ਦੇ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪੁਰਾਣੇ ਅਤੇ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਲੰਮੇ ਸੈੱਲ ਹਨ। ਕਈ ਨਿਊਰੋਨਸ ਤਾਂ ਪੂਰੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਇੱਕੋ ਸਮਾਨ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਹਨ, ਜਦਕਿ ਦੂਜੇ ਸੈਲਸ ਮਰ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹਨ ਅਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਥਾਂ ਨਵੇਂ ਸੈਲਸ ਲੈ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਹਨ। In fact, you have fewer neurons when you are old as compared to when you are young. These neurons can be quite large, such as corticospinal neurons, that is, from motor cortex to spinal cord, can be several feet long. Students, neurons ਨੂੰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ functions ਦੇ ਆਧਾਰ ਤੇ 3 types ਵਿੱਚ classify ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ. Those that conduct impulses from the sensory organs to the central nervous system, such as brain and spinal cord, are called sensory or afferent neurons. Those that conduct impulses from the central nervous system to the effector organs, such as muscles and glands, are called motor or efferent neurons. Interneurons, also known as connector neurons or association neurons, are those that connect axons of sensory neurons to dendrons of motor neurons. Neurons ਨੂੰ classify ਕਰਨ ਦਾ ਇੱਕ ਹੋਰ ਤਰੀਕਾ ਵੀ ਹੈ. ਉਹ ਹੈ ਨਿਊਰੋਨ ਦੀ ਸੈੱਲ ਬੋਡੀ ਤੇ ਫੈਲੀਆਂ ਐਕਸਟੈਂਸ਼ਨਸ ਦੇ ਨੰਬਰ ਦੇ ਆਧਾਰ ਤੇ. ਇਸ ਮੈਥਡ ਦੇ ਆਧਾਰ ਤੇ ਨਿਊਰੋਨਸ ਨੂੰ 3 ਟਾਈਪਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਲਾਸੀਫਾਈ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈ. ਬਾਈਪੋਲਰ ਨਿਊਰੋਨਸ, pseudo unipolar neurons and multipolar neurons. Let us discuss these one by one.
Bipolar neurons have 2 nerve processes extending from the cell body, as you can see here. Common examples are retinal cells and olfactory epithelium cells. Pseudo-unipolar cells. Actually, these cells have 2 axons rather than an axon and dendrites. One axon extends centrally towards the spinal cord and the other axon extends toward the skin or muscle. Example is dorsal root ganglion cells. Multipolar neurons have many processes that extend from the cell body. However, each neuron has only one axon. Examples are spinal motor neurons and pyramidal neuron cells.
Students, these neurons are specially designed to conduct nerve impulses. These nerve impulses are conducted after the neuron has recovered from conducting the last nerve impulse. I hope you know about nerve impulse. A wave of reversed polarity or depolarization moving down an axon is called a nerve impulse. Cell membranes surround these neurons just like other cells in the body have a membrane. Different types of ion channels are present on these neural membranes. These ion channels are selectively permeable to different ions. When a neuron is not conducting any impulse, its membrane is polarized. Being polarized means that the electrical charge on the outside of the membrane is positive, while the electrical charge on the inside of the membrane is negative. When a neuron is not conducting any impulse, that is, resting, the membrane of axon is comparatively more permeable to potassium ions and nearly impermeable to sodium ions. Similarly, the membrane is impermeable to negatively charged proteins present in the axoplasm. Consequently, the axoplasm inside the axon contains high concentration of potassium ions and negatively charged proteins and low concentration of sodium ions. In contrast, the fluid outside the axon contains a low concentration of potassium ions, a high concentration of sodium ions, and thus forms a concentration gradient. These ionic gradients across the resting membrane are maintained by the active transport of ions by the sodium-potassium pump, which transports 3 sodium ions outwards for 2 potassium ions into the cell. As a result, the outer surface of the axonal membrane possesses a positive charge, while its inner surface becomes negatively charged and therefore is polarized. The electrical potential difference across the resting plasma membrane is called as the resting potential. ਹੁਣ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਨਰਵ ਇੰਪਲਸ ਦੇ ਕੰਡਕਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਮੈਕੈਨਿਜ਼ਮ ਬਾਰੇ ਜਾਣਨ ਲਈ ਬਹੁਤ ਕਿਊਰੀਅਸ ਹੋਵੋਗੇ। ਚਲੋ ਹੁਣ ਇਸ ਬਾਰੇ ਪੜ੍ਹਦੇ ਹਾਂ।
Students, when a stimulus is applied at a point, let us suppose at point 1 shown here in the visual, on the polarized membrane, the membrane at the point 1 becomes freely permeable to sodium ions. This leads to a rapid influx of sodium ions followed by the reversal of the polarity at that site. That is, the outer surface of the membrane becomes negatively charged and the inner side becomes positively charged. The polarity of the membrane at the point 1 is thus reversed and hence depolarized. The electrical potential difference across the plasma membrane at the point 1 is called action potential. It is also known as nerve impulse. At a point immediately ahead, the axon, let us suppose at point 2, membrane has a positive charge on the outer surface and a negative charge on its inner surface. As a result, a current flows on the inner surface from point 1 to point 2. On the outer surface, current flows from point 2 to point 1 to complete the circuit of current flow. Hence, the polarity at the point is reversed and an action potential is generated at point 2. Thus, the impulse or action potential generated at point 1 reaches to point 2. The sequence is repeated along the length of the axon and consequently the impulse is conducted.
Students, the increase in the permeability to sodium ions is stimulus induced and is extremely short-lived. It is quickly followed by a rise in permeability to potassium ions. Within a fraction of a second, potassium ions diffuse outside the membrane and restore the resting potential of the membrane at the site of excitation, and the fiber becomes more responsive to further stimulation. ਪਰ ਇੱਥੇ ਅਹਿਮ ਸਵਾਲ ਇਹ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਸਰੀਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੰਪਲਸਿਸ ਜਾਂ ਸਿਗਨਲਸ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਟ੍ਰਾਂਸਮਿਟ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਨ। ਚਲੋ ਵੇਖੀਏ।
Transmission of impulses. These neurons lie end to end in chains to transmit impulses. Nerve cells receive signals from other nerve cells via dendrites, which branch out like the branches of a tree. The cell body of neuron receives incoming information and transmits it further through the axon. A nerve impulse is transmitted from one neuron to another through junctions called synapses. A synapse is formed by the membranes of presynaptic neuron and a postsynaptic neuron, which may or may not be separated by a gap called synaptic cleft. When the nerve signal reaches the synapse, it causes the release of chemical messengers, neurotransmitters, from storage vesicles. The neurotransmitters travel across a minute gap between the cells and then interact with protein molecules, that is, receptors, located in the membrane surrounding the signal receiving neuron. This interaction causes biochemical reactions that result in the generation of a new nerve signal depending on the type of neuron, neurotransmitter, and receptor involved.
Students, a nerve impulses ਮਨੁੱਖ ਵਿੱਚ 160 ਮੀਟਰ or 525 ਫੀਟ ਪਰ ਸੈਕਿੰਡ ਦੀ ਸਪੀਡ ਨਾਲ ਟਰੈਵਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਨ, ਜਦਕਿ ਕਈ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਹੌਲੀ ਸਪੀਡ ਨਾਲ ਟਰੈਵਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਨ। ਸੋ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟਸ, ਮੇਰੇ ਖਿਆਲ ਨਾਲ ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਨਿਊਰੋਨਸ ਬਾਰੇ ਕਾਫੀ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਹਾਸਲ ਕਰ ਲਈ ਹੈ। ਹੁਣ ਛੇਤੀ ਨਾਲ ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਜੋ ਕੁਝ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਫਿਰ ਦੁਹਰਾ ਲਈਏ। Students, our nervous system is the most complex system of human body. It is essentially a biological information highway and is responsible for controlling all the biological processes and movements in the body, and can also receive information and interpret it via electrical signals which are used in the nervous system. The neural system of all animals is composed of highly specialized cells called neurons, which can detect, receive, and transmit different kinds of stimuli. If we talk about human neural system, ਸਾਡਾ nervous system ਦੋ ਭਾਗਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੰਡਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਹੈ। The central nervous system, that is CNS, ਅਤੇ the peripheral nervous system, that is PNS. Neuron ਅਜਿਹੇ microscopic cells ਹਨ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ 3 major parts ਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਨ, ਜੋ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਹਨ: cell body, dendrites, and axon. The cell body contains the necessary structures for keeping the neuron functional and mainly concerned with metabolism, maintenance, and growth of the cell. Neurons ਦੀਆਂ specialized extensions ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਹਨ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੂੰ dendrites ਕਿਹਾ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ। Dendrites typically signals ਨੂੰ cell body ਵੱਲ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਜਾਂਦੀਆਂ ਹਨ। So students, this was all about neurons. Now let us quickly check with some short questions what you have grabbed today. Be attentive. Here are some questions. Question: what is the main function of nervous tissue? Answer: the main function of nervous tissue is to perceive stimuli and generate or transmit nerve impulses to various organs of the body. Next question: name 2 parts of the nervous system in human beings. Answer: our nervous system is divided into 2 parts. The central nervous system, that is CNS, and the peripheral nervous system, that is PNS. Next question: list 3 major parts of neuron. Answer: neuron is a microscopic cell composed of 3 major parts, which are cell body, dendrites, and axon. The next question is: what is the main function of the cell body? Answer: the cell body contains the necessary structures for keeping the neuron functional and mainly concerned with metabolism, maintenance, and growth. My next question is: name the 3 main types of neurons. Answer: 3 main types of neurons are sensory or afferent neurons, motor or efferent neurons, and interneurons. The next question is: what is a nerve impulse? Answer: a wave of reversed polarity or depolarization moving down an axon is called a nerve impulse. Hope I have made a successful attempt to clear the concepts regarding neurons. which will help you in fetching good marks in the exam. Thanks for your cooperation and attention. Looking forward to the next class. See you then. Thanks.